I think it's important that the Wales Audit Office is involved with charities and particularly this week with the national trustees. Charitable sector, the third sector, is increasingly being used by public sector organisations to help deliver services. That means we need to ensure that the trustees of charities are actually well equipped for their responsibilities. And that includes important governance functions. I know as a trustee myself that there's often an expectation, well, we can all leave this to the officers of the charity to carry out. The trustees can't. They're in exactly the same position as a director of a company. They have important responsibilities. We have the skills from the work that the Wales Audit Office has done to help them. And I look forward to increasingly engaging with the third sector in this.
The Wales Audit Office is involved in the seminar for Trustees Week because of the important role that trustees play in providing the governance that underpins the delivery of services by voluntary third sector and charity organisations. And they're absolutely vital in ensuring that those services are properly delivered.
From a funder's perspective, I think the three key things are that the quality of the project is very important, but the governance aspects are equally important. And from a funder's point of view, one can't happen without the other. So I think that's a very key message. I think the role the trustees themselves play in terms of being a safe pair of hands, making sure that, particularly where there's public money involved, that is being dealt with in a way which we as a funder would expect and also the public would expect. So I think that's the second point. I think the third one is probably understanding the roles and the boundaries. To reiterate the point that somebody said to me many years ago, from a trustee's point of view, it's noses in, fingers out. The doing is down to the executive, not the trustees. The trustees are there to control, the executive are there to run.
We find that, unfortunately, most of the stories that get into the press are the unfavourable ones about trustees, and we want trustees to understand that we do really understand that the work that's done across the sector is fabulous in general. There's very few bad cases, but unfortunately they get into the press. So we want people to understand that the opportunity to get involved as a trustee is a really great one, and that there's lots to be had from being a trustee and what you can give back to an organisation. So it's a great opportunity to get involved with, but understanding what's involved is really important as well. So roles and responsibilities. There's a great analogy that I heard recently about how the relationship between staff and trustees is somewhat like a nanny and a full-time nanny and a parent, where the trustees work full-time with the organisation, which is effectively like the baby on a day-to-day basis, understand its needs, but the parent has ultimate responsibility for that organisation, and it's appreciating the difficulties that both parties have in that relationship, and ultimately they're both striving for the best interests of the organisation.
My workshop was about recruiting diverse trustees, and I took away a lot of learning points from it. Many people were interested in how do you recruit young trustees, which is a really important thing to be thinking about, since the average age of a trustee is well over 50 and the ethnic profile is white and it's male. So we need to diversify that, very much so. And it was very interesting to hear people were engaging young trustees and to talk through ways of using social media and maybe looking at having virtual meetings, because young people today are big technology users. So I thought that was really an interesting learning point. It was very interesting the people who were trying to recreate their memorandum and article associations to actually reinvigorate the organization and bring on a more diverse body of trustees. Some of the people that were talking about their own examples were talking about having co-opted trustees as a way of training people up to the full trustee role, or as a way of just bringing in new skills and experiences that they needed while they were waiting for board positions to become available. So I thought that was really, really interesting.
Well, we did a workshop today about decision making, And it was based largely on a new piece of guidance that the Charity Commission has published called It's Your Decision. We know that trustees have significant and difficult decisions to make on a daily basis, and we hope by producing this guidance it will help them make sound decisions.
The topic of my workshop was financial literacy for trustees, and which I jointly presented with Helen Saxton. We both here today representing the Charity Finance Group. Clearly part of National Trustees Week, because of course you come to the three key duties of a trustee: to be solvent, your charity is well run and in accordance with its purposes. There are a lot of sort of financial undercurrents to that, and especially if you do not stay solvent, and that was one of the key things that came out of our workshop today.
My workshop was about financial literacy, and the three learning points I would say would be: it's important for trustees with no financial background to understand their responsibilities in relation to finance, have a training regime for them, and also learn from each other. Sometimes people aren't willing to ask other people